What are some good first date questions to get to know someone? On our first date, my husband and I did a thing where one of us would choose a year, then we'd both say what we were doing in that year of our lives. It was a great way to get to know each other. Do you use Reddit? If they say no, you can safely say something like, "Oh, okay," and change the subject. But if they say yes, then you need to get up and walk away. Do you have any outstanding warrants? OkCupid had a really cool blog about statistics from their huge user base. The 3 questions they found were best predictors for compatibility. 1. Do you like scary movies? 2. Have you ever traveled alone in another county? 3. Wouldn't it be fun to chuck it all and live on a sailboat? If you agree on those 3, you're likeliest to succeed. Some other fun bits from that article: if you want to know if your date is religious, ask how they feel about spelling mistakes. Higher tolerance of spelling mistakes correlates strongly with being religious. If you want to know if your date is DTF, ask her if she likes beer. There is a strong correlation between the two. Lots of hypothetical situation questions. I find they help you understand how they think and prioritize their lives. E.g., if you could travel anywhere in the world for W month, all expenses paid, where would you go? What would you do? Ask them who their favorite Muppet is. If they choose anyone other than Gonzo, explain why they are wrong and then leave. Favorite dinosaur? Can anyone give an answer on how to get a first date? Let's not put the cart before the horse. What was your first pet's name? What was your second grade teacher's name? What was the make and model of your first car? What is the name of the road you grew up on? What city were you born in? Then read all their emails and DMs. Good way to get to know someone. Your parents are about to be executed. You are given a chance to save only one of them. Which one do you choose? Bonus points if you follow up with what's your favorite ice cream flavor? What is the strangest thing you've witnessed someone do in public? I was stopped at a red light and there was a lady in the car next to me. She was having really sporadic head movements. Not the head bob dancing type, but just kinda crazy. After like 10 to 15 seconds of this, her neck went limp and her head just hung forward. The light turned green and I hesitated a moment, wondering if she needed medical care, and was about to pull in front of her to check on her when her head abruptly jerked back up and she drove off without hesitation. Woman in an immaculate business suit chasing a chicken down the street. I saw a dude with a suitcase, completely naked, entering our train. His facial expressions were normal. He looked concerned and stared at his phone the entire time until I had to get out. Standing in line in a store at the mall when I hear a weird sound from a woman's large tote bag, that is also slightly moving. Could swear I heard a quack. Couldn't be though, except it was. She saw me looking at her bag confused, so opened it and showed me that she had half a dozen ducklings in there. She said she had errands to run and couldn't leave them in the car because of the heat. Made sense, but I think carrying around half a dozen baby ducks in a bag is pretty strange. Once saw a man standing next to an extremely expensive looking home jump headfirst into a hedge, pull himself out, look at the hedge, and jump back in head first. He continued to do this for a while until someone nearby asked him if he were okay, to which he responded with, "Don't worry, this is my hedge, I'm just bored." Still to this day I respect his casual not giving a fuck vibe. Caught a guy jerking it in a bookstore. Right in front of my house, a couple of guys stopped their car, left it in the middle of the street, and began a fist fight. Then after a couple of minutes of each of them throwing more or less ineffectual punches, they both stopped and got back in the car and drove away. It's that last part that makes it so strange. If an argument had proceeded to blows, then I wouldn't just get back in the car with the other guy as if nothing ever happened. I saw a woman on the GO train pull out an entire raw white onion from her purse, then proceed to eat it like an apple as if it were nothing. She was tearing up and didn't seem to be enjoying it much. Once saw a man unicycling through a mall parking lot with groceries bags in each hand. During a snowstorm. No one ever believes me. They don't believe me when I first tell them and assume I said bicycle. They really don't believe me when I correct them and say no. Unicycle, one wheel. I wouldn't have bothered telling you this if there had been two wheels. An old dude put down his suitcase and started doing a weird interpretive dance. The worst part is that this was in a crowd of hundreds of people and he was staring me down specifically with a creepy smile. I was a couple 100 feet away and when I looked back there he was. Smiling. Dancing. Eyes locked onto me. What's a super genius way to hide something in your house? I used to think I could hide my weed from my mom in the towel in the bass drum of my drum set. One day I reached in and found a note instead. It said, "Not as smart as you think you are. So not that way. If it's light and small." I split some of the seams on the side bottom of blackout drapes and stitched in a pocket and Velcro. It's pretty much invisible, and I doubt people robbing the house want to disturb the drapes. I use it to stash cash. For larger stuff. I have a wood fireplace, so we have decorative wood sitting next to it. I split a log, hollowed it out a bit with a drill, use it to hide a bunch of spare keys, safe keys, etc. I made these things while I was recovering from an injury and super bored. On the positive side, I think nobody will look in my places. On a negative side, if there's ever a fire, the neighbors will think I'm insane when I save a blackout drape and a log. I've always been a fan of drilling a vertical hole in the top of door with a spade bit and dropping a film canister in. I just hid something inside a jar, put a toilet paper tube in the middle, then fill the sides with dog food biscuits. In the summer, winter jacket pockets. False bottom to your cat's litter box. Nobody's gonna dig through cat shit to look for your stuff. When I was a teenager, I got my hands on a Playboy magazine. This was just before we had internet at home, which changed the game, of course. My mom knew I had it, but I was just old enough where she decided to tolerate a few boobs. Still, in the conversation we had about it, she bet that if I was trying to hide a magazine from her, she would be able to find it. I accepted her challenge and told her to give me a little while to come up with hiding place. I had a chair with a cushion made of foam with a fabric cover, like a typical couch cushion. I removed the fabric cover and cut a slit into the foam, inserting the magazine in the middle of the cushion. I then turned the cushion around so that the slit was on the inside and couldn't be seen if you unzipped it. I put the foam back in the cushion and put it back on the chair. Couldn't feel anything sitting on it. My mom searched for a good while and could not find it. I think even if someone tore your house up completely, they likely wouldn't take the foam out of the couch cushions and carefully inspect it from all sides. Bring in 10,000 more identical ones. Inside a Holmes and Watson DVD case. It will never be opened, definitely not worth stealing, only risk is someone possibly decides to incinerate it. Friend of mine, ex-criminal, had that problem when police raided his house. The gun he owned was not legal, so he threw it in a pot full of beans, while they were on a stew, cooking. He saved his ass. Sorry for bad English though. People who don't want kids, what are your reasons? Primarily because I don't want the responsibility, the stress, and they're expensive. I enjoy being around kids occasionally for short times, but having one full time would not be fun for me. I know this is kind of fucked up to say, but I also don't want the risk of having a messed up kid. If I knew the child wouldn't have any major problems beforehand, I would be more willing to have one. I can't even take care of myself. I like money and time and my body. It isn't so much that I have reasons that I don't want kids. It is that I have never, ever, in my 36 years of life wanted kids. It seems to me that if you have kids, you should probably want them, have a desire to raise them. I don't. No reason. I just have no want of children. If I had a kid, I'd probably emotionally neglect them. That hardly seems fair. So I just won't have any. I don't want to pass on my genes to another person. We enjoy our lifestyle and neither of us has a desire to have kids. I don't want kids in the same way I don't want to move to North Dakota. I have no reason to, and it seems unpleasant from my point of view. I don't like kids, simple as that. But it's different when they're your own, yet I can't get away from them, making my situation way worse. Being pregnant/giving birth is my number one biggest fear. But also I just don't want them, the same way I don't want to own my own business or play sports. It's not something that interests me. I don't find taking care of children rewarding the way others do. I know people say it's different when it's your own child, but when I think of everyone in my family or among my friends who have had a child, all I see is the time they don't have anymore, the money they've spent taking care of it, and the negative effect it has on their body. Then I look at the kid, who can't do anything for themselves until they're like 10, and even then there's so much they don't know. I guess there just isn't a parental instinct for me. What would you do if you are given the ability to pause time only once? Continue to anxiously save my ability in case a better situation to use it comes along and then die still having it. Imagine making all those plans and then it unpauses randomly and you are caught naked inside a bank. Bet my life savings on a roulette game. Then at the last second freeze time and places the ball in the number I chose. Pet my dog for a long time. Question: does this mean I age? Because if not, I'd just learn a ton of instruments, watch a bunch of movies, read a lot of books and then unpause once I feel satisfied. Draw a fake mustache on every person, but if they already have a mustache I'll shave it off so I can draw the fake mustache on them. I'd probably accidentally press pause and play and waste it. Steal the Declaration of Independence. Assuming no one can see me during stop time, I would steal stuff. Very basic answer, but the majority of people would, probably, also do that. Honestly. I'd just steal a few bucks here and there. Mostly from businesses, banks, and anyone who's dumb enough to hold more than a few hundred in cash for no good reason. Wander around exploring and seeing the sights until I was satisfied. Then make my way back home, store the cash I've gotten, and sleep for a few days, wondering how I'm going to spend a few million. Then spend a few days/weeks worth doing the paperwork and logistics needed to use the cash smartly and cleanly over the next few decades, sleep for a few days after, then unpause.